News9, you're watching Unmissable. I'm Nabila Jamal. I take you through news from India and across the globe. Let's start with our top story tonight. A report that's been done by an international agency almost suggests that the Ahmedabad Air India plane crash that killed over 260 people could have been the pilot's fault, saying that the pilot may have deliberately pressed the fuel cut-off switch. It's sad as it is that this report suggests something like this, and there's backing to this report as well. We're going to take you through details with our panelists on board and what really points suggests to something as grave as an allegation like this. Also on our top story tonight is Bengaluru's Paw-licy. It seems like the government is mulling over the number of pets that a household can have. Details on that, and also our top story on the big bust, the scams that are happening, frauds and scams that are happening seated in a foreign country like Cambodia. We're looking at a big bust that exposes how organized this racket was. Visuals coming in on how Indian these setups in Cambodia looked, therefore easily defrauding Indians. Let me take you through all those details. The headlines first. The Ministry of External Affairs has clarified India has received an invitation from the US to join the Board of Peace, and we are currently reviewing it. Former Chief B.R. Gawai briefs Joint Parliamentary Committee on the One Nation, One Poll bill, says the bill does not violate the basic structure of the Constitution, will only make a one-time change in the election process. MOD introduces stricter book clearance rules after Naravane Memoy Rao. Mandatory approval now for serving and retired officers before any publication. In a major update in the Kanpur Lamborghini case, accused brat Shivam Mishra gets bail on personal bond of 20,000 rupees. Karnataka Home Minister G. Parmeshwara reviews IPL hosting at Chinnaswamy Stadium with KSCA and RCB officials to brief the state cabinet for a final decision. And Sabrimala temple opens for 5-day the Kumbha Masa Puja. And as investigation in the meanwhile continues into the alleged 2018 gold theft, devotees throng the shrine after sanctum opens up by the chief priest. Gushkor film, the Gushkor Pandit film, Supreme Court directs the makers of the film to change the film's title and file an affidavit confirming the new name. Top court warns that the movie will not be allowed to release unless the controversial title is changed. The MEA confirms French president and Brazilian president to visit India to attend second AI summit. Both leaders to hold bilateral talks with Prime Minister Modi. All right, let's start with our top story tonight on a report indicating that the Air India crash that happened in Ahmedabad could be the pilot's fault. Now, we start by we are looking at the tragedy that killed 260 people. 260 people who died on board that Air India flight in Ahmedabad. Well, investigations are currently on, but before it's even complete, a dead pilot is being tried in the court of public opinion. The June 2025 crash of Air India Flight 171 Boeing 787 Dreamliner bound for London remains one of the deadliest aviation disasters in recent Indian history. The aircraft itself lost thrust from both engines moments after takeoff and crashed into a medical hostel complex. The grief is immeasurable. The demand for answers is legitimate, of course, but what is not legitimate is speculation dressed up as conclusion. An Italian newspaper now claims investigators are preparing to state that one of the pilots almost certainly intentionally shut off the fuel switches, an act implying deliberate human action. The focus reportedly is on Captain Sumit Sabarwal, who died in the crash and cannot defend himself, of course. His co-pilot was First Officer Clive Kundar. Now, this report suggests that Sumit may have deliberately handled the cut-off button to the fuel, basically switched off fuel for the aircraft just after it took off. This is what this report suggests. Now, let's be absolutely clear about the facts here. The Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau preliminary report that it presented in July 2025 did not assign blame. It documented a cockpit exchange just saying that one pilot was asking, "Why did you cut off the fuel?" The other responded, "I did not do so." That is confusion, not, of course, you can't really look at it as a deliberate act. If at all the report indicates deliberate act, then how are they really concluding on that? The Supreme Court of India has already cautioned against premature conclusions. The bench went so far as to state that the pilot should not be blamed and told the captain's father that he should not carry the burden of public accusation. The court warned against turning this into a blame game among stakeholders and has demanded a progress report within weeks. Now, we are told simulator tests could not reproduce a dual engine shutdown from mechanical failure alone. But aviation history teaches us that rare electrical faults, software anomalies, sensor misreads, and cascading system failures can in fact replicate. It could evade replication altogether, especially in complex fly-by-wire aircraft like 787. The absence of replication is not proof of intent. We are told enhanced cockpit audio suggests one pilot moved the fuel switches from run to cut off, but investigators themselves have not released a final report on this. The Civil Aviation Ministry has not confirmed these claims. The AAIB has not formally assigned responsibility. What we have are just leaks from a report that's yet to be published, but that leaks itself enough to basically suggest that it was the pilot's fault. Pilot associations and captain's family have raised serious concerns about investigative independence. A petition seeking a judicial inquiry is currently underway, and the Supreme Court has expressed dissatisfaction with a narrative that appears to single out the pilot, while larger technical questions of that flight and Boeing remain unresolved. The Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau, AAIB, has also clarified that reports suggesting that the investigation into Air India flight AI-171 accident has been finalized are incorrect and speculative. So if there were no technical faults, why is the final report not out yet? Why is it not public? If the act was intentional, where is the established motive? If this was human action, was it really deliberate or a result of a system malfunction? Well, it's just sad that we're already making conclusions in a report that's not yet been presented. In aviation, accidents are almost never the result of a single act in isolation. If you're looking at it, they are chains of failure, mechanical, procedural, human, systemic. The job of investigators is not to find the fastest answer, it's to find the actual answer. What really happened, get to the core of it, the correct one. And until a final transparent evidence-backed report is presented, assigning deliberate criminal intent to a deceased pilot is not investigation here. It's basic insinuation, and that's not right in a case like this. 260 people deserve the truth. Their families deserve the truth. And Captain Sumit Sabharwal deserves the presumption of innocence until proven otherwise, even in death. Well, let's quickly bring in our panelists on board for a little more. Captain C.S. Randhawa, President, Federation of the Indian Pilots, joining us. We also have Captain Prashant Dalla, former Flight Operations Inspector of DGCA, and Squadron Leader Akshay Chopra, aviation expert and former IAF pilot. Thanks very much, all of you, for joining us. I'll start with Captain C.S. Randhawa, your take on this. The report that's due to come out suggests that the captain could have deliberately cut off the fuel switch to the aircraft. No motive has been established, but this is a leak from the report that we have here that leaves us shocked. What's your opinion?
Nabila, first of all, you covered the accident and further on what all has happened, and we have already condemned the Italian report which has come out in the media. And right after the crash of Air India 171, the Federation of Indian Pilots has been condemning the foreign media, including Wall Street Journal and Reuters, who tried to blame the captain for a short transcript which was given by the AIB in their preliminary findings. Now, let me tell you this, the easiest way of a manufacturer to get away is to put the blame on the dead pilots. This is what they did in the 737 MAX 2 crashes. And again, they are up to it at the same time. I feel for the 737 MAX crashes, they should have been charged with manslaughter, because after the second accident, they realized that there was a problem with the MCAS system. Similarly, here in this 787 aircraft, we have been saying to check the electrical system, because this aircraft is highly dependent on the electrical systems. Nevertheless, neither the DGCA nor the AAIB thinks prudent to check the electrical systems. Thirdly, since there is no hearsay for our federation, who's been knocking at the doors of the ministry, the AIB and the DGCA, we have gone to Supreme Court and we made the father of Captain Savarwal as the co-petitioner. Now the matter is being deliberated in the courts. Now yesterday, one very important thing in the Supreme Court, the CJI, Mr. Suryakant and Mr. Bagchi was the other judge, and they've come out and very clearly said that in next 3 weeks, the AIB is to submit a progress report to the Supreme Court in a sealed envelope. That is one. The second part, what I would like to say, the AIB has issued a statement this evening. They are saying that the investigation is still under process, and the preliminary report which was given at that time was at that stage of the inquiry. So there is no need for people to start speculating and start maligning Indian pilots. I strongly condemn such actions by the foreign media, and I have requested the Indian media also not to fall in trap of the foreign media, what they are saying, and they should protect the Indian pilots till the time the AIB final report is coming up. No one should be blaming anyone till the time there is evidence against the pilots. Nabila.
You know, Captain Prashant Dalla, yes sir. Prashant Dalla, your take on this. You know, I can't even imagine why a pilot would do something like that, and that too, that report suggests intentionally. What is intentionally? I don't understand intentionally. How can they be saying this with so much conviction? I've not seen the report as yet, but this is what the leak suggests. So if that's true, on what conviction can they say the pilot intentionally cut off fuel to the flight?
Well, Nabila, it is, I want to say it officially on record that, you know, your news channel is one of the only news channels in the country who's diligently following up this news, you know, the Air India 171 crash. However, we must understand, for the sake of the viewers, that be it Italy or any other European nation, they don't have any jurisdiction on this particular matter. You see, the cause of action is in India. Though the OEM is a Boeing manufactured company, which is primarily based out of USA, the FAA and the NTSB have the locus in this particular matter. But let us not get swayed away by any foreign media who's trying to influence this particular investigation. And like my senior Captain Randhawa has categorically mentioned, the Honorable Supreme Court has taken cognizance in this matter. The pilot bodies as well as the regulator is proactively trying to get to the root cause of this particular report. And like you very, you know, factually mentioned, it's an evidence-based process. The report has to come out in a time-bound fashion. And for the sake of the country and the public at large, it has to be in black and white. The entire Boeing 787 fleet, I'm talking globally, has to be informed that what exactly happened in those last seconds of inside the cockpit before the crash. So any influence, any kind of an hijack of news agencies to hamper the investigation is not going to help the country at large.
You know, it's just tragic to see the parents who are grieving already to read something like this that says that your son was at fault, you know. And Squadron leader Akshay Chopra, what is intentional? Even if it's said maybe out of confusion or a mistake, I don't know, it would still be satisfying. But to say intentional, that's almost insinuating, I would say, as good as calling the pilot a murderer.
Thank you, Nabila, for having me. And adding on to the panelists, here, let me start with the quote on the basis of which this foreign media has been working. When a machine seems perfect, let's turn the human into a suspect. That's what is happening here from day one. Now, just day after the CGI Suryakant's report that, the AI 171 crash, AAIB has to submit a report within the next 3 weeks, we come up with the newspaper, Italian newspaper comes up with this particular report, and this particular newspaper has a very strong standing in Italy. It's one of the top newspapers there, just equivalent to the Times in UK or the New York Times in the US. So whenever the report comes out, it actually plays on the minds of the readers, not just in India but internationally. Number one. Number two is when it mentions that it's almost certainly intentional act, which I don't understand, because if you read the preliminary reports also, which most of the pilot associations have also condemned, because they haven't released anything except that one line, that who turned off the switches, and the pilot said, I did not. That's about it. Now, with that particular single statement in hand, that you cannot conclude anything. Based on this particular newspaper's report, in December, the AAIB investigators, they went to Washington, and the National Transport Safety Board laboratories, they basically cleaned up the audio, came up with this, the sources which they are saying, that they're not revealing the name of the sources, that now they're planning to blame the pilot. We haven't had any reports anything from AAIB or DGCA that they are planning to blame the pilot like this. The Supreme Court has warned before, when 91-year-old father of Captain Sabharwal went to the court. They've already warned of saying such loose statements. On the worst part is, you can actually see that from day one, they are harping on this fact that somehow when nothing is coming out, let's blame the pilot. 3 times we have seen since 2018, then this particular incident and the recent incident in Air India, wherein the field switches have malfunctioned. We are not taking the cognizance of those reports, but we are simply hell-bent on saying that let's blame the pilot because we couldn't find anything. This is what is happening right now.
Right. Tell us a little more about the investigation so far. Why is it taking so much time? I mean, if it is a technical failure or not is something that we should know by now, isn't it, Akshay?
Yeah, so any of the investigations generally takes time, and with this scale of investigation, you have a time period of approximately an year, and with so much of pressure of the media, of the aviation ministry, of the people around, you just cannot release the final findings without everybody agreeing to all the aspects of it. Also, I would like to point upon one more important thing. They're trying to somehow put on this point that Captain Sabharwal was under depression, and he has taken this step because of it. Now, let me clarify that before this particular flight, he was holding a Class 1 aviation medical certificate, which was valid till 2026. This particular certificate is the highest aviation certificate, which is done under DGCA qualified medical aviation doctors. It checks you on every single aspect, including mental and psychological, vision tests, your heart and cardiovascular test, your lung, respiratory, neurological tests. And if a single aspect is found wrong anywhere, the pilot cannot fly at that particular stage. And till the time he was flying, every particular medical test of Captain Sabharwal and co-pilot Clive Kundra, it was found to be absolutely right. So now with all these reports, I do not understand this statement that they are certainly planning to blame the pilot.
But the Italian newspaper says investigative reports is all likely to suggest. So which investigative report?
Exactly. So this is what we are all also asking, that what are your sources? You're not revealing any of these sources. This is what Wall Street Journal and other Western media newspapers are also trying to push upon us, that we are getting a report from sources that it's the pilot's fault, it can be the pilot's fault. And now they're trying to...
Do you believe this could be a sly attempt by Boeing?
If you remember in your channel only, I said on the very first day when they were trying to put the blame on the pilot, and when billions are involved, lives don't matter. This is what you can see here, that they're trying their best to somehow put the blame, but then let's get the reports out and let's see, because if they try to blame the pilot, then the report has to mention every possible reason because of which you're blaming the pilot. You cannot just say that the pilot is at blame.
Okay. Captain Dalla, your take on this, on the agents, the Boeing itself is, and look at the number of technical faults that Boeing aircrafts have detected in the last few months or a year, like basically right after the crash. So many planes have been grounded. They've returned. They've cancelled flights because of one technical error or the other. Suddenly, that was raised. Concerns were raised. It was flagged off right after the Air India Ahmedabad crash, right? So I'm not too sure if there is any talk about that. Look at the number of aircrafts around the world belonging to Boeing are facing technical issues. And here, when you have a plane crash, which is due to be investigated, you have the pilot being, blamed in a way which we don't know yet, but we're waiting for a report. Whatever we know is that it's shocking how a company like Boeing has managed to push aside all its failure, basically brush it under the carpet. And here they've glorified, I'm not even blaming them directly, but I'm saying it could be very possible that they could be behind this report.
It's a very valid point, Nabila. Please understand the sync between the operator, the manufacturer, and the regulator. I'm sure Air India is also taking up this matter at the highest level with the manufacturer, as there are more than 30 aircrafts in their fleet, similar kind, the Boeing 787. And like Squadron Leader Chopra just mentioned, regarding the quantum of dollars involved in this particular aspect, it does have an impact. Having said that, I'm sure the government of India is not under any kind of duress or pressure, and things should come out in the open. And two important aspects: the cockpit voice recorder, the flight data recorder. I'm sure the assessors, the evaluators will apply all their mind, logic, and with the aid and advice of the foreign agencies in terms of FAA and NTSB. In the interest of the public, things should come out in black and white, and they should be evolved in such an aspect that safety is an evolving concept. Aviation is a dynamic concept. Things are not static here. We will see takeoffs and landings every day, every minute. So in the interest of the public, things should be kept open. And the government must involve the public sentiments also, and come out with a clear report.
Okay, Captain Randhawa. Until then, don't you believe that the Indian government and the aviation ministry must be doing everything right now to protect our pilot? Like even the fact that they're dead and gone. They deserve to be, their reputation and just their years of hard work, it deserves to be protected. And they're very much a citizen of this country, and you have an international company like Boeing having all the might and a battery of lawyers. It's about time the Indian government steps up to see how best we can counter something like this if a report like this comes up.
You see, Nabila, I would just take you back again to last year. We had to, from the Federation of Indian Pilots, we had to issue a press statement. And after 2-3 days, after 2 days, in fact, the minister came out with a statement and not blaming the pilots directly. And no sooner, the AAIB also came up with a statement that it is too speculative to come and forward and starting the blame game. Now, there are a few things to let me tell you regarding why we have gone to Supreme Court for a judicial probe. Firstly, the accident probe has been started by the Indian government under Rule 11. Rule 11 is for aircraft which are smaller in size, like what happened in Baramati. All the accidents which have been taking place since 1972 in India, they have been under Rule 12, which is a judicial probe, and mostly this has been headed by a retired or a serving judge of the High Court or the Supreme Court, or a retired Air Marshal from the Air Force. If we go back in history, The last crash at Mangalore was the inquiry was held by Marshal Gokhale. So why there is a requirement to hold a judicial inquiry? Because there is more transparency and there is more accountability. Today, can you imagine that the VSR Ventures, that aircraft which crashed here in Mumbai 2 years back, till today, the final report is not given by the AAIB. So the space at which the inquiries are conducted, because there is lack of, I would say, subject matter experts in the AIB, and they are highly understaffed. There are 5 members, and out of 5, 3 are from DGCA. This should be an independent body, not under the Ministry of Civil Aviation. So it is not even meeting the requirements of Annexure 13 or Docs 9756 of the ICAO. So there is a requirement for our country to come up with a robust AIB board, which should be having a lot of people on its strength, and they should be also at the same time subject matter experts. Today they lack expertise in the present committee and they investigation committee. They are relying more so on the Boeing and the NDSB. So again, these are all American national people who are involved in this investigation process. Though they can become a part of the investigations as per Annex 13. It's absolutely in order. But nevertheless, you cannot be guided by them. You should have your own way of carrying out the investigation in a logical manner. Yeah. And that can only happen if you have the subject matter experts. After a lot of deliberation, we could have Captain Sandhu put around the end of July, beginning of August, end of July, sorry, as the member, as a subject matter expert. I don't know if there are any engineers who have been taken on board for the investigation process.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of loopholes in the system, and that advantage is being taken by the foreign media, and there is billions at stake by the manufacturer. All 3 companies are American: Boeing, the Honeywell, and the GE. And they have been given clean sheet at an early stage of the preliminary report by the AIB, which was very, very premature.
Yeah.
So until unless, Nabila, we fix all these things, I think we are heading nowhere.
There should be a wake-up call. Yeah, there should be a wake-up call, but I suppose the wake-up call should be strong enough for the government now to stand by our pilots. That's to begin with, right? A quick one, if Captain Dalla or Squadron Leader Akshay Chopra wants to come in on this. On Air India currently offering its final monetary settlements to the families of those killed or injured to basically in exchange for liability waivers for the airline. What does this really mean?
Captain Dalla, please.
Captain Dalla, would you want to come in on that?
Well, you see, with all sentiments attached to the deceased and the families, Air India, being a Tata-run airline, does have a fund which is helping these families and trying to pay them, compensate them for the loss. It is a good gesture. However, with the amount of insurance and the government intervention involved, you cannot get the lives back.
However, what does it mean by final monetary settlement in exchange for liability waivers?
Well, that's a legal terminology used for any kind of a settlement. Once there is a loss of life, it is a liability for a corporate. However, the settlement is don't take it in the negative light. It is trying to help. The Tata family is one of the reputed brands in the country in terms of helping the deceased, and it is a major loss to the nation. Some or the other way, you have these families, who have lost their loved ones. And in terms of
and we understand that a US-based firm is representing over 100 victims' families. So they are basically fighting this case.
That's right.
That's right. Why a US-based law firm?
Well, Nabila, that's a different subject matter. I'm sorry at this forum.
No,
it is,
I think, Nabila, it was because of the I think it was this issue which came up in the initial investigation when they pointed out that the body, if you remember, they pointed out that the body bags which were being handed, the DNA was not matching. I think it was because of that the US firm came into play. And whatever the compensation we're talking about, whenever you form a legal document, a lot of lines to be added so that once the final settlement is done, the people cannot claim more amount. However, as Captain Dhalla said, it's more to do with sentiments here, but when legality is involved, they have to do their own work. So that's why these wordings are coming into play.
No, but I was just wondering how come a US-based firm is fighting for 100 odd families, their victims' families.
It was all because of the same report, as I said, that during that time there was a DNA mismatch because of
I understand, but why not an Indian firm? Why,
Because of the people who are settled in US, they're fighting for them. They're not fighting mostly for the Indian people. It was for the people.
100 victims were from the US?
I'm not sure exactly.
Yeah, it sounds very vague, but anyway, I assume probably because a very strong brand like Air India and the Tatas and a big brand like Boeing, so they needed possibly a heavyweight legal firm, and that's why they chose, maybe the US firm basically reached out to the family saying, we'll do it for you, right? But either way, we are going to follow up on this very closely. We will wait for a report to come. Let's just hope it's not what it initially suggests. Thanks very much, all of you, for joining us on that. A quick break. We'll be right back on pet limit rules that could be set in Bengaluru very soon. Details up next.
Every champion's journey starts with second thoughts.
क्या हुआ?
Till they see it's possible and there is someone who truly believes in them.
एक दिन बहुत बड़ा आदमी बनना है ना?
Orchids, the international school, raising 85,000 champions across India.
पढ़ता है, खेलता है, झूलता, उछलता है, दौड़ता, कभी कभी दौड़ कराता है, आगे आगे बढ़ता है इंडिया, अमूल दूध पीता है इंडिया।
Philippines.
When drinking water turns deadly, it demands answers.
What is really going on there?
News9 brings you
Imagine water that you drink.
contaminated drinking water in Indore, revealing a disturbing link to at least 15 reported deaths.
Typhoid outbreak in tribal areas. 104 patients.
After 15 people were killed.
Foul, frothy water from taps.
You would assume it's safe. It turned deadly.
How is that happening?
Different cities. One national crisis. Bharat. Quest for clean water. News9. In your interest.
Welcome back. All right, let's take you through what Bengaluru is mulling over when it comes to pet dogs in your house. As independent households may just have soon a limit of how many pets you can have. So Bengaluru may soon tell you how many dogs you can keep at home. The Greater Bengaluru Authority, GBA, is now considering a cap on pet dogs per household. with one proposal limiting independent houses to a maximum of 3 dogs. In apartment complexes, certain large and aggressive breeds like German Shepherds, Rottweilers, Dobermans and select hound varieties are under review for possible restrictions. For a city that calls itself pet-friendly, this could really mark a drastic shift, a dramatic one indeed. In fact, under the draft framework by the GBA, pet ownership could soon come with strict conditions: mandatory licensing, annual renewals, graded license fees, compulsory microchipping, vaccination certificates from registered veterinarians, and sterilization for dogs above 12 months unless medically exempt. There are proposals for penalties for unlicensed pets as well, fines for bylaw violators, and even procedures for seizing or handling abandoned dogs. GBA estimates suggest Bengaluru is home to over 2 lakh pet dogs. Chief Commissioner M. Maheshwar Rao has asked city commissioners to draft detailed enforcement rules, signaling that this is no longer just a discussion. But why now? Because as we know, dog bite numbers are really soaring. In 2025 alone, Karnataka reported over 2.3 lakh dog bite cases in just 6 months, a 36% surge compared to the same period last year. Bengaluru accounts for a significant share. Several cases have turned fatal due to rabies. Incidents have been reported inside schools, near hospitals, at bus depots, public parks. The turning point was when the Supreme Court stepped in, calling the rise in attacks as alarming. The top court directed that stray dogs be removed from sensitive public spaces like schools, hospitals, railway stations, transport hubs, and shifted to designated shelters after sterilization and vaccination instead of being released back to the same location. Though that also was amended to say that aggressive dogs or dogs with rabies should be moved out. The others can be let back into their territory after they are vaccinated. Well, that said, we're looking at Bengaluru now drafting its own rules. The court flagged concerns about public safety, tourism, and even India's global image. So Bengaluru city now, the GBA has begun identifying designated feeding zones and are currently planning a relocation drives for these stray dogs. Animal rights groups have pushed back though, arguing that humane animal birth control measures, not mass relocation, is really the long-term solution. But well, from stray management, the focus is now shifted to pet ownership itself. Critics say the new framework risks punishing responsible pet owners while failing to address gaps in stray dogs sterilization. Also vaccination coverage, waste management that attracts pet dogs in the first place. Supporters argue that accountability cannot be selective and that regulation of both stray and pet population is essential to prevent further escalation. We know that pet dog bites also have been reported across parts of the country. In Bengaluru, no different. A foreign national, an athlete who had come down for games in the national capital was bitten. So it's embarrassing as it is, and yet we've got to have a humane approach to ensure the animal is safe, so are humans. Let me quickly bring in our guest joining us. We have Satya Prakash Dubey. Satya Prakash Dubey, who's the husband of victim Shalini Kumari Dubey from Bengaluru. In fact, Shalini Dubey was brutally attacked by the neighbor's pet dog, a Rottweiler, during her morning walk. She needed 80 stitches. Thanks very much, Satya Prakash, for joining us. We also have Manjari Chaitanya, who's an animal rights activist from Bengaluru. Satya Prakash, what's your take on this? On the GBA in Bengaluru deciding to limit the number of pet dogs you have, but I don't know if it really addresses the core issue. Even if you have one pet dog, it could still be aggressive. I don't know how this works.
Namaskar. This is not about being against animal. It is about responsible pet ownership and public safety. No family should have to go through such trauma because of someone's negligence. We have full faith in the law and seeking justice through proper legal channels so that such incidents do not happen to anyone else. Whatever you have seen in this footage, it is clearly evident if a pet owner having some security protocols, safety protocols, proper muzzle, proper leash, then definitely my wife was not able to face this kind of severe and grievous injuries. I hope more than 80 stitches over the face, neck and the scalp. It is very painful. 8 hours of surgery in operation theatre.
In fact, we're showing that visual here, right here on our screens as well, on how she was attacked.
Yes, and definitely someone should be accountable for this. If you are having pet, you are having joy. That doesn't mean your joy become a long life trauma for someone, some other one. You know, public property is not safe when how someone feels safe in the society in any colony. I'm not against any animal. Just I wanted to secure like whatsoever I am currently my family is facing. That definitely I don't want anyone suffers because you know that my wife is having a breastfeed mother. She is having a 1 year 6 months old baby daughter, and that last 10 days was very much scary. You can't imagine a daughter without mother and mother without daughter in such a initial
Yeah,
stage.
yeah.
When my wife came post discharge from hospital, my daughter denies to identify that she is my mother with n number of stitches, bandages, and all. So not only my wife is suffering, parallelly my daughter, my whole entire family is suffering, and the reason behind this, super negligence by the pet owner.
You know, from what I understand, the new cap here by the GBA is that proposal limiting independent households to have maximum 3 dogs, but in apartment complexes, certain aggressive breeds like German Shepherds, Rottweilers, Dobermans and select hound varieties are under review. So it could be very possible that in these societies, they could limit such aggressive breeds. Does that sound like something would change if that happened? If that was a rule earlier, then maybe your wife wouldn't have been victim to that Rottweiler's aggression.
Definitely, it should be, and I think we are having n number of laws. But being a civilian, it's your responsibility to follow all laws. See, instead of my wife, there are n number of children in my society, in my colony. Lots of senior citizens, many pregnant women. You know the severity of this kind of incidents. And honestly speaking, we need a strict laws because if you are not accountable now, then definitely you will not understand the pain of others. Because as of now, what I'm facing and I'm feeling, it can't be expressed in words. And I'm having faith in the law and order and the judiciary system, and definitely as per your this recent
Owner's
news,
family should be compensating you. Have you asked for compensation?
no, actually, my primary responsibility is to focus on my wife, and later on, definitely will work on it. And that pet owner is answerable and he's accountable for the damages.
Are they
also.
responsive to you? Are they responding to you? Are they being
No,
no?
no, no, no.
I hope there's a
When
legal case that you're pursuing.
Yes, actually, I have lodged FIR in local police station, and post FIR, they absconded. The pet owner, the main accused, and the police team is doing an investigation. Although we have submitted all.
So they've gone absconding.
Yes, yes. As per our knowledge,
They are not there.
they're not
Are
in
they
the
your
house.
were they your neighbors?
Yes, yes. Just opposite to my house.
So they're not
residing.
seen ever since this happened. They're not seen. We're showing your wife's pictures as well after those stitches. You know, it's just tragic. They're not seen there in the house since the incident.
Yeah, yeah. Since not in through incident, when it came into media or FIR laws, now that time,
Yeah.
they are absconded.
No, I just hope that you pursue this legally and strong. They should be compensate for this. You know, responsibility is important. Manjari Chaitanya, your take on this? A cap on pet dogs that could likely come into effect in Bengaluru.
I'd like to first apologize to Mr. Satya for what his family has gone through. It is very unfortunate and unforgivable, if I could say so myself. It's a tragedy that I wish didn't happen anywhere, not just in my city. And Yeah, I hope. But this cap on number of dogs, whether it's in an independent house or in an apartment, I think is not right. What they should do is make sterilization mandatory, make vaccination mandatory, make pet licensing mandatory, which is fine. And I think the onus should be on the owner, right? I don't think a cap on the number of dogs is the GBA's business. It doesn't in any way solve the problem. Responsible pet parents are responsible whether they have 3 or 4 or 5. They should go after illegal breeding and they should ban that. But I don't think it's the
Take on the
GBA's
aggressive
business
breeds,
to
like
police.
what's your take
morally
on
how many
aggressive
dogs
breeds
who has in
not
their
being
house.
part of apartment complexes? Aggressive breeds like Rottweilers, Dobermans, they should be kept away from apartment complexes or close-knit societies. What's your view on that?
This incident that happened in an independent house. It's not a Rottweiler. I think it was a Doberman or a Great Dane. No, it was a Great Dane. I think Satya can correct me if I was wrong. It's not a Rottweiler. I think the dog in question here is a Great Dane. We all know them as gentle giants. They're not one of the so-called termed illegally aggressive breeds. So I think it has to do more with responsible pet parenting. There are no breeds that are aggressive if they're brought up right and bred right.
Satya, it was a Great Dane, is it?
Actually, we are not sure what is the breed, and as per few veterinaries and experts, it's a crossbreed. They're having physique of Great Dane and psychology of some deadly giant.
Deadly.
But honestly speaking, the size of the dog is very huge. You can see that pet owner was unable to handle it. The size is approximately 4 feet.
No, so yeah,
and when it came...
Mandatory leashing of your dogs is a great thing. I think every pet parent, irrespective of how friendly you think your dog is, psychosis is real. And there could be people who are scared genuinely. There could be people who don't want to be greeted by your dog. So I think in public spaces, dogs should and must be leashed non-negotiably. But I don't think it's anybody's business to morally police how many dogs. It's like saying how many children people should have, right? There are a lot of people these days who opt to raise pets instead of going in for biological children. And I think it is unfair to go and say you can only have this many children in your house.
Yeah, but you know, you have pet,
I think what the
you
GBA
have
should
people
do,
there having very fancy aggressive breeds also without actually realizing whether they can adapt to the environment, the weather and whatnot, you know, and no hardly any knowledge
So
of the
these
breed
are
of the pet, and then...
So then I think to address this, the breeding should be stopped completely. I'm actually, you know what, despite being ardent animal lover and an animal rights activist, I'll be more than happy if breeding is banned and all breeds stop to exist, right? It's a man-made problem.
Yeah.
We have illegal breeding that's ensuring that the genetic line is not correct. Puppies are separated too early. They're not getting to learn behavior from their mother or from their pack. It's a dirty business, and that should be stopped.
Yeah.
They should go after breeders and stop that if they can. It is a problem.
Great. That's it I have time for here. I really appreciate both of you for joining us with your views on that. We're going to see what GBA really draws out as part of its framework on pets. Thank you. And we cut across to our top stories tonight. Let's start with the fresh political storm that's now erupted in the parliament. Union Parliamentary Affairs Minister Kiren Rijiju has now released a video that he claims shows Congress MPs storming into the Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla's chamber, pointing fingers at him and using abusive language. I'm going to play that up for you. Now, Kiren Rijiju alleges that this footage captures a serious breach of parliamentary decorum, even claiming that threats were made against the Prime Minister. This comes amid escalating tensions between the government and the opposition. Remember, on Tuesday, opposition parties moved a notice seeking the removal of Speaker Om Birla, accusing him of functioning in a partisan manner. They've demanded that he step aside from presiding over the House until the matter is decided. In fact, Om Birla also said, let the matter be decided, until then I won't step into the parliament. So, but, well, we're looking at a face-off between the speaker, the opposition, the ruling. In fact, earlier, Kiran Rijiju also shared another clip showing Congress MPs near Prime Minister Narendra Modi's seat, minutes before his scheduled address, holding a banner that read, Jo Uchit Samjo Wahi Karo. Well, we're looking at the ruling parties, the BJP, claiming that the opposition is highly aggressive and they're basically not following decorum of the House. You have BJP's MP Nishikant Dubey that's now made some firing allegations against Rahul Gandhi. He's first of all asked for a substantive motion against leader of opposition Rahul Gandhi. He says that whatever Rahul Gandhi said about India-US interim trade agreement and the allegations that he made against Union Minister Hardeep Singh Puri, for this, he should be suspended from the parliament. He says that Rahul Gandhi is trying to mislead people, accusing Gandhi of also having links with organizations like Soros and whatnot, that he's carrying out anti-India activities, which the Congress, of course, has repeatedly denied. But Nishikant Dubey says that Rahul Gandhi should be suspended from the primary membership of the parliament and he should not be allowed to contest for the alleged anti-India activities that he's carrying out. Though Rahul Gandhi remains defiant, he says that he will continue to fight. He will fight for the rights of farmers. He will fight for the rights of the people of the country. He says, do what you want, pass a privilege motion, fight for my suspension, do what you want, but I will still continue to speak in favor of our citizens. Right, we are looking at a chilling tale of blind faith and greed that resulted in cold-blooded murder in the national capital. In Delhi's Piraghari area, an occultist has been arrested for what police describe as a sinister conspiracy. I'm going to play that image out for you. This man, Kamruddin, who's allegedly called as Baba. He basically went around convincing people that he could really bring them a lot of wealth if they did a few rituals, like eating some laddus, like doing some other small rituals that he suggested to them, and eventually would take their money and flee, but not before killing them. Well, in the latest case, we hear that this occultist, Kamruddin, basically tried to poison a family of 3. He fed them laddus laced with deadly toxins in the name of so-called ritual, promising Dhanvarsha. Remember, Kamruddin is 72 years of age and he's a resident of Firozabad in Uttar Pradesh. He lured victims with the promise of 2-3 crore windfall through tantric rituals. He says, you give me 2 lakhs, I will do all the rituals, you will get 2-3 crores. And people believed. According to Delhi police, the accused operated he operated a so-called tantric center, not just in one place, couple of places in Loni and Firozabad, and is already a person who has a criminal record, has murder cases that have been slapped on him in the past as well. In fact, on February 8th, a PCR corps alerted the Paschim Bihar East police station about 3 people lying unconscious inside a car. That's the car we're talking about. All 3 people were rushed to Sanjay Gandhi Medical Memorial Hospital, where doctors declared them brought dead. Inside the car, investigators found liquor bottles, cold drinks, empty glasses, mobile phones, cash, Aadhaar cards and personal belongings. So technical surveillance and call data records reveal that all 3 victims who died had been in constant touch with this Kamruddin for quite a while. On the day of the incident, we hear Kamruddin picked, in fact, they picked him up from Loni around noon. According to DCP, Kamruddin allegedly prepared poison-laced laddus, made the victims consume liquor and soft drinks as part of the ritual, waited for the poison to kick in, and then fled with that 2 lakh rupees once they collapsed in the car. Investigators believe that he boarded the vehicle in Loni, performed the so-called ritual during the drive, and then abandoned the victims when they fell unconscious. But this may not be an isolated crime. Police say that Kamruddin seems like a habitual offender. In 2025, 2 deaths were reported in Firozabad after victims consumed poisoned laddus. A murder case was registered there. In Rajasthan's Dholpur, he was booked under serious charges, including murder, as far back as 2014. In total, police are now probing 6 murder cases linked to this man, Kamruddin. Remember the case that sparked global outrage when a Seattle police officer was caught on body cam laughing and saying that the life of this young Indian student who was killed in a crash had very limited value. Now, in a major development, Seattle authorities have agreed to pay 29 million US dollars, roughly 262 crores, to the family of Janvi Kandula from Andhra Pradesh to settle a wrongful death lawsuit. Janvi Kandula, who's a 23-year-old graduate student at Northeastern University Seattle campus, was struck and killed on January 23, 2023 by Seattle police. In fact, she was crossing the street when the Seattle police was driving their vehicle so fast. It was driven by Officer Kevin Dave, who hit her. Investigation revealed that the officer was responding to an overdose call, so he was driving really fast, 74 miles per hour in a 25 miles per hour zone. His emergency lights were on, he says. He says the siren was also on intermittently. The impact, though, was devastating. Janvi was thrown over 100 feet and she died. Prosecutors, though, say that they did not have enough evidence for felony charges, but the officer was fined $5,000 for negligent driving. He was also fired. But what really shook people nationwide was the way after that girl was killed by their vehicle, a body cam audio that was later leaked suggested how that officer was laughing after crashing into her, saying that, well, you know, just write a check and finish this off. He was also dismissed, the officer who said that. India has sought a thorough probe now. Well, they finally settled the matter, though. 262 crore settlement, largely covered by the city's insurance. Janvi's family says they hope this brings some measure of accountability and some closure as well. All right, the 2026 Winter Olympics in Italy have been marred by protests and political messaging from the very first day. It started 5 days ago, and that storm has now reached the field of play. Ukrainian skeleton racer Ladislav Harakish, in fact, Ukrainian skeleton racer Ladislav Harakish, who's basically participating in the Winter Olympics, has been disqualified after competing with what he called a helmet of remembrance. If we can play his image there, please. Right? In fact, this man here, the Ukrainian skeleton racer, has been disqualified after he was competing with what he called a helmet of remembrance, featuring images honoring Ukrainian athletes killed since Russia's invasion. Just hours before his event, the 27-year-old had his accreditation revoked. This is the price of dignity, he says. He says his team will now challenge the decision at the Court of Arbitration for Sport. The International Olympic Committee says the helmet breached Rule 50 of the Olympic Charter, which bans political demonstrations during competition. IOC spokesperson Mark Adams argued that the issue is in the message but the venue, saying with over 130 conflicts worldwide, the Olympic arena cannot become a platform for each one of them. Now, beyond the stadium walls, politics has already spilled onto the streets, though thousands marched in Milan on opening day of the Olympics, protesting Israel's participation in the Olympics, the presence of ICE agents with the US delegation, and the environmental and economic costs of hosting the games. Smoke bombs and firecrackers were set off near the Olympic Village as well. Police responded with tear gas and water cannons. 6 people were arrested after the clashes. The Winter Games in Milan and Cortina have brought together nearly 93 nations and nearly 3,000 athletes across 116 medal events. Yet even before the medals tally rises there, the 2026 Olympics are confronting an old question once again: can sport ever truly stay separate from politics? All right, a quick look at authorities in Cambodia that's now uncovered a massive international scam. Operation targeting people worldwide, including Indians. An organized racket in Cambodia that target Indians and carry out cyber crimes and frauds. Investigators found these fake signages with logos of the Mumbai police in Cambodia and the CBI, pictures of Mahatma Gandhi and B.R. Ambedkar and even the Indian flag. These were used in so-called digital arrest scams to trick victims abroad. Cambodian officials say that China-born tycoon Lai Kuong is the alleged mastermind behind the network, and in the past few weeks, nearly 200 scam centers have been shut down after his arrest. 173 senior crime figures arrested, around 11,000 workers deported. Visuals from one center in Kampot province show large workrooms with rows of computers phone booths and documents detailing how victims were defrauded. Many scam workers included some trafficking victims as well who fled from the crackdown, creating a humanitarian crisis. Police say it was impossible to detain everyone. 6,000, 7,000 workers left the Comport complex when they raided it, while the province only has about 1,300 police officers and military personnel. Well, we're looking at the Cambodian officers saying this crackdown really means a lot, because it's a big one, and it seems like they managed to shut down some big scam sites, including the one that largely targets Indians. Thanks very much for tuning in. Have a great night.
Bangladesh is on edge. Protesters also targeted symbols of Bangladesh's political history.
Mr. Yunus is being the new Jinnah of Bangladesh.
What defines this mob? Who are these people? Where do they come from? Pratham Alo, the newspaper, has also called it a terror attack.
Yunus is the Osama bin Laden of today's world.
The state has no strength, or those who are on the street are the state themselves. There's nothing called spontaneous mob. There's a theory called you keep the pot boiling. Delhi is losing the fight against pollution.
This is not a story of just children. This is the story of every elderly person in the national capital region.
Delhi's hazardous air quality.
It's more capital of the world.
Delhi pollution has left us sick and exposed, also frankly embarrassed.
Hazardous air quality are disrupting daily life.
Growing issue of a toxic air looming large over Delhi.
Delhi's air quality index has been hovering